In the previous video of this series, we explained how, on a high level, the unexpected intent policy works. One of the things that we discussed is how this policy is very similar to the original TED policy, except that here we are looking for unexpected intents as opposed to predicting the next best action to take. There are, however, quite a few details about this approach that are worth diving into, so I figured it'd be good to do another video on the topic. The first reason is that it gives us a very good opportunity to review how, in general, policy mechanisms work inside of Rasa, but it also highlights how this policy is just a little bit different in some non-obvious ways. So let's consider an example. What I've got here are 3 stories from a demo bot that we like to call MoodBot. And this is a very simple assistant that can try to cheer you up. The idea is that every story here can be seen as a bit of training data. We once saw a story where the user was greeting. This was followed up by an action called utter greet. The user then said that they were in a great mood. And then the final action here would be that we would utter that indeed, it's great that you're happy. Intents are things that the user tells us, whereas these actions are things that our bot is doing for the user. In these 2 stories, something interesting happens, namely there are 2 actions that follow each other up when the user is telling us that they are unhappy. First, we try to cheer the user up. We do this by sending a picture of a cute tiger, and then we ask whether or not that helped the user. The user can say yes, that helped, which is described in this path, or the user can say no, that didn't help, and that's described in this path. The main subtle difference is that if the user says that it helped, then we say we're happy, and otherwise we just say goodbye. Let's now say that we're using just these 3 stories as our training data. We're going to ignore any rules in this system. Well then, how might our unexpected intent policy behave? So let's do a demo conversation. Let's say we have a user that starts by saying hey. Then this can be picked up as an intent for greeting. This matches the stories that we see here above, because after greeting, we are always uttering a greeting back. And that's what you see happen here. So far so good. And once we've done our greeting, we are going to emit another action, namely we're going to wait and listen until the user says something back. After that, the user is telling us that they feel sad. So that would fit these 2 stories over here. And here what needs to happen is, well, we got to try to cheer the user up. And after that, we got to ask if that helped. That's something that you see below here as well. And note that again, we're saying, well, let's listen to what the user has to say after this. And let's now say here, the user does something that's unexpected. It's here where the user's saying, hey, hang on, are you a bot or something? Which would be a different intent. And in this case, it's an easy example because this intent doesn't even appear in any of our stories that we see here. So this should trigger the unexpected intent policy. The policy would emit this action over here, which we could use to respond to the user. However, you could also wonder here, what's going to happen next? After we've emitted this action, what is the next action for our policy? After all, this action that you see over here doesn't appear in any of our stories. So does that mean that perhaps this might happen? That after we detected that there's an unexpected intent here, that we maybe kind of get stuck in this loop? Now, this is certainly behavior we don't want, but after watching the previous video, you might stop and think, hey, yeah, how do we actually prevent this behavior from happening? After all, we are still witnessing an unexpected intent here, so we need to do something to prevent this kind of behavior. Now, thankfully, this won't happen. There are mechanisms in place that prevent the conversation from getting stuck in this infinite loop. But what I do hope is that by looking at this example, you do recognize that the unexpected intent policy really is unlike any of the other policies that we have in Rasa. So let's dive into what's happening here with our policies. Inside of Rasa, we have a dialogue manager that contains a couple of policies. And during a turn in the conversation, we take the story so far, as well as the most recent NLU data with the intents, And then these policies together figure out what the next best action is. So let's write some of them down. We have the rule-based policy. We have the memoization policy. We have the TED policy. And let's put the unexpected intent policy here. The idea is that when new information comes in, these policies all in parallel try to have an opinion on what the next action should be. Given all this information, the rule policy will have a look, the memoization policy will have a look, as well as these two. These policies do live in a hierarchy, however. In general, Rasa has the opinion that anything that a user has described as a rule deserves to have the highest priority. And TED, over here, has the lowest priority. And the reason here has to do with this distinction. I could draw an imaginary line here, and you could notice that everything that happens here below are policies based on machine learning, whereas on top here, I have policies that are based on rules and settings. The rule policy over here is defined by a rules.yaml file in Rasa, which is something that has to be manually configured, and this memoization policy is based on stories that act as the example of conversations that were good that happened in the past. And although it's super useful to have machine learning models around for generalization, we should acknowledge that rules always have a higher priority than machine learning-based models. This idea is a safety mechanism, but it has a couple of interesting side effects. You see, whenever the unexpected policy is saying, hey, something unexpected is happening, then this trigger will only influence the conversation if the rule policy and the memoization policy don't have an opinion about the conversation. The dialog manager won't trigger the action unlikely intent if the rule policy or the memoization policy are triggered. And this distinction is especially important when you consider Rasa forms. In Rasa, forms are typically defined by the rule policy. And some of the edge cases in forms are defined using stories, which would be handled by the memoization policy. So that means that this action unlikely intent cannot trigger unless a form is rejected inside of a form loop. And this doesn't occur often. It might happen if the predicted intent is one from which slots cannot be extracted. This can happen, but it's a bit of an edge case. Or when you have a story that has an unhappy path that's not being taken care of by the memoization policy. In these situations, you might get the action unlikely intent, but you should be aware that in general, the unexpected policy isn't going to trigger a whole lot when forms are around. Let's now consider something else. Namely, what are all of these components doing? The rule policy, for example, definitely emits an action to take. So does the memoization policy and TED. But the unexpected intent policy is a little bit different here. If we think about the data that it's learning on and what it's internally trying to emit, then you can argue that primarily it is concerned with an intent. And then after that, we might emit an action. But internally at least, the unexpected intent policy is focusing on a different part of the conversation. The story so far that the unexpected intent policy is looking at has to be a little bit different than the other policies. Let's consider an example. Here I've got a story where the final action that's been taken is we're going to start listening to the user and what the user has to say. What will follow is an intent from the user. And that means that this will be an example of the story so far that the unexpected intent policy is going to want to see. This is going to be training data. Then we've got this other story over here. And here, well, an intent has just been uttered, and the dialog manager needs to figure out what the next action is. So this would be training data that the other policies would have seen. I hope you recognize the contrast here. The unexpected intent policy really needs to have different behavior than the other policies in order to get this to work. So that's why there's a couple of implementation details worth highlighting. One implementation detail is inside of the unexpected intent policy. There's a checking mechanism here that checks if the prediction should be skipped. If you think about it, It only makes sense to predict when the user is communicating an intent. If you think about it, this action should only trigger when a user just communicated their intent. That means that if in the previous turn there was an action unlikely intent, or any other action, that the prediction should be skipped. There's no need for us to trigger. And this is a hard-coded mechanism inside of the policy algorithm. Another thing that we do is we make sure that this action unlikely intent is removed from the data that the other policy mechanisms see. The tracker featureizer ignores these events because these are events that TED and the rule policy shouldn't be taking into account. These two facts together can give a signal that can be used inside of a conversation. You might be able to use it to ask a user for clarification or to trigger a human handoff. In that sense, you might look at it as an alternative to the fallback classifier. If you consider doing this though, do take care and benchmark it properly, because we are talking about a machine learning-based policy, so there will be wrong decisions made from time to time. Another consequence is that if you don't choose to pick up on this event, then the policy mechanism will kick back in, and because of the hierarchy, it will immediately give control to TED. After all, the memoization policy and the rule policy didn't trigger already, so they cannot trigger now, so that means that TED will be the policy to consider what happens after we see an unlikely intent. Hopefully this previous segment gave you a bit more of an impression in what happens before and after the unexpected intent policy is triggered, but we haven't talked about how it is triggered. After all, internally we are predicting intents, and sometimes we are turning that into a trigger. What we haven't discussed in detail yet is how we actually perform this trigger. So let's zoom in on that. So let's once more consider what the unexpected intent policy is doing internally. On a super high overview, we are taking the story so far and we're taking the NLU intent information. We are representing that as an embedding internally, and after that we calculate the similarity between the two using a dot product. So during training, we might have this one example of a label that's the true label, and that might have a similarity that's indeed quite high. And it might also be that we have a negative example of a label, which we would expect to have a similarity that's a fair bit lower. Now, these are just two examples, but you can imagine during training that we will have many. And we could make a histogram of sorts that show the distribution of these similarity scores. If this is the x-axis and we say that the similarity is increasing in this direction, then you might expect we have a distribution of similarity scores for the true labels, and we'd have something very similar for the negatively sampled examples as well. Now, to turn this intent similarity score into the unlikely intent action, we apply a tolerance threshold. In the base configuration, if you don't configure anything, then the threshold appears here. Any similarity that's lower than this line that I just drew is considered something that is unexpected. The idea here is that we never want to predict a seen intent that was accurate as something that is unexpected. So that's why this line is placed exactly where the green line here starts. This is the default, however, and you are able to tweak it. This threshold parameter is referred to as tolerance in our documentation. The idea is that you can set the tolerance parameter to 0.0, which means that you'll end up here, but you can also move it up all the way until 1.0. The idea here being is that if you set the tolerance too low, then you're going to tolerate that a lot of unlikely action intents will be happening. If the tolerance is a bit higher, the idea is that this will happen less frequently, but when it happens, you might be more certain that something unexpected happened. The tolerance parameter that you see here refers to the mass that is under the red curve. So that's a way to think about this parameter, but in general, it is something that you're gonna wanna verify and tweak on your own data. A final comment on this, again, is to repeat that this default is, of course, sensible, but we need something of a threshold here because the similarity that we're calculating is the dot product. So we need some sort of a mechanism to turn that theoretically unbounded number into a yes or no action that's called action unlikely intent. I hope that this small series of videos has helped you understand how we've designed this unexpected intent policy, but I also hope that you appreciate why we made certain decisions. The feature is still relatively new and therefore also relatively experimental, but we like to think that helping people label more appropriately is very powerful. Having high-quality data to train on is, of course, something that any machine learning system needs. So with that in mind, if you have any feedback when you try this algorithm out, definitely let us know on our forum. Our research team loves getting feedback, and if you have any observations or anecdotes, please do share them.